with recent Patriot news. So last time I did a podcast, it was before Stefon Diggs came for a visit. He came, met with everybody. It was sort of a typical veteran visit where, dinner, health check because of he's coming back from ACL. He departed without a contract. It was a good visit from both sides' perspectives. They're going to keep in touch and see how things sort of progress from here. I'm sure there are Patriots fans who are disappointed that they didn't sign Diggs. I understand that. I do think this is a unique situation. I mean, I'm sure what the Patriots, maybe they would like to sign Diggs right now, but, knowing the way the Patriots operate, a guy who tore his ACL in October, who's probably really not going to be full go until at the earliest October this year, and a guy who's almost 32 years old, I'm sure the Patriots are like, we'll give you, $8 million, and then, you can earn up to that. And Diggs probably isn't interested in that. And probably Diggs, might look for other opportunities. Maybe somebody gets hurt in training camp and all of a sudden his market changes. I think this was I think the Patriots wanted to bring him in, Rick, because they don't really know him. He certainly has a reputation. A really good, productive player, always has been, even last year with the Texans in a half a season. Great production. But, look, he's bounced around, and there's a reason why players bounce around. And, I will say, Diggs wouldn't have gotten in the door unless, Nick Caserio, who's close with a lot of people with the Patriots, and also Ben McDaniels, who's Josh's brother, is the wide receivers coach for the Texans. If it's easy for those guys to pick up the phone, the Patriots, like Josh McDaniels, to call both those guys, hey, what do you think? And from what I've heard talking to people in Houston, Diggs was great last year in the rooms, with their young receivers. He would stay on the field after practice working with them. He even worked with some of their defensive backs like Stingley. He would give them tips on, like, this is what I'm trying to do to you, all this stuff. So, really good reports, not quite the diva that we've seen in Minnesota and Buffalo at times. Maybe he got humbled a little bit by having to bounce around. But I think that some people checked off. The Patriots wanted to bring him in, talk to him themselves, check out the knee, see where it was and all that stuff. And, now we'll see what happens. Rick, what's your viewpoint on sort of the Patriots being interested in Diggs?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do your due diligence, right? And just see what's out there, what the asking price is, weigh your alternatives. A couple of red flags just come out listening to you talk. I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30, which is 1. He's coming off a significant injury, which is 2. And, you're on the backside of 30 coming off that type of injury. What are your expectations? Do you see Stefon Diggs being here beyond this year? Otherwise, like, why are we trying to put a Band-Aid on a open gash wound? Like, we're not Stefon Diggs away from being a competitive football team. And also, like, I'm a little bit worried about stunting the growth of Drake May, because that's great to hear that he was a positive influence in Houston. And, I go back to Mike Locksley when I go and visit Maryland. I know Stefon Diggs had a lot of beef with the coaching staff there about some of the things that got out of the building when he was coming out for the draft. He didn't go back to Maryland since he left until this past summer. And he went back and hosted a youth camp. So maybe he's making amends. Maybe he's a changed man. But I will tell you this. One thing that caught my attention during last offseason, I would say right around August coming into the year, I watched a really long, in-depth interview with Josh Allen, trying to get to know him a little bit more. And he said some interesting things. And I think he was speaking directly about Stefon Diggs. And the mantra last year was everybody eats. And in other words, it was addition by subtraction when Stefon Diggs left the Bills. And while he brings a resume and he brings accomplishments, there wasn't that pressure of forcing the ball to him, or it wasn't that pressure of seeing him come off the field frustrated because he didn't get a target. And so what happens now, I wonder, in mid-October, all of a sudden you've got this all-pro, Pro Bowl kind of ego injected into the offense. And guess what? He's going to expect the ball. And, now Drake May, does he have to go out of his way to feed this guy? And really, I mean, at 32 years old, like, does he really have a future beyond this year? I don't think so. So why not go and try to find a younger talent through the draft, or maybe a veteran bargain bin kind of signing? That would be my approach, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, what you bring up about feeding Diggs. I mean, now he's going into an offense, and we'll just assume that Josh McDaniels is. Well, I know it's the bones of his former offense. It might be a little bit different from some of the stuff he's learned in the offseason, but Diggs would be going into an offense, and you could use this if you were talking about Devontae Adams, any sort of wide receiver, high volume wide receiver, somebody that wants to touch the ball. They're now going into an offense where it's literally the open guy is the main receiver, and they distribute the ball to everybody as long as you can run your routes and be where you're supposed to be. Like, everyone's going to touch the ball, and they're going to spread it around, and they don't just – this is not a volume type offense. And I will say, like, look, I like Diggs the player. Before the injury, he looked really good. I love his route running. I think he would be, we'll see, what level he comes back at. But I think if fans are thinking this would be some sort of solution, or we got a number one receiver. This isn't that. Like, the Patriots, like, this is Diggs, if he coming back from an ACL, when you're not yourself, if you ever get there till a year after you return. I mean, we're talking about he's a 2/3, and they got Mac Hollins, who is a 3/4, and so it doesn't really solve anything. It helps, but let's not act like if they signed him tomorrow that all of a sudden, like, woo, great Patriots offseason all the way around, A+ across the board. No, that's not it. So we'll see what happens with Diggs down the line.